What is going on, wacky wavy inflatable arm flailing 2 people? Thank you very much for checking out the video today. I appreciate it. Alex here again, and today we have some more Cypher setups. We're going to be looking at Icebox, the very cold and frigid map. Some people's favorite, some people's least favorite. We're going to show you the best lineups, the best no lineups. We are going to be showing you the best tripwire placements, the best camera placements, and the best placement for yourself to be in to make sure that you have the best results by far on this map. So let's take a look and start with A. Our setup on A site here on Icebox, we are going to want to go ahead and put a fairly default camera right about here. This gives us a good look into the very almost spawn of their A site, a little bit behind A nest right here, as you can see. Gives you a good look there, gives you an early peek, an early tag, maybe something that you could get a good check onto pipes and maybe see if there's anyone starting to push towards there, or see if anyone is taking the rope up towards nest. After having your camera set up right there on the default side, the tripwires and cages are going to be fairly default, fairly boilerplate stuff. We're going to want to go ahead and make sure that we have one tripwire right there, making sure that we also have our cages right there, right in front of the tripwire. Pretty standard stuff on both sides. That right there, cages right there. Then from there, the main thing we're going to want to be looking at is where we're standing and where we're putting our body and where we're placing it. So when you have all of that stuff set up, you have your cages caged, you have your camera-ing, you have your tripwires tripping and stumbling. You are going to want to make sure that you keep a good eye on the camera, making sure you see everything there. Then from there, once you start to hear people push in, very simple as doing that with your cage, making sure that you have a good view, but also making sure that you have a good look of nest as well as belt. Our main focus here is not going to be where the cage is, but it's more going to be where the cage isn't. We're going to want to make sure that because there are so many angles, we clear everything efficiently enough on that side. Go from there over towards this side. Same thing on this side. Give it a good old peeksies, give it a good old look-sies. Make sure you get a good old peek over there by belt, maybe even towards nest. See if anyone's going more towards pipes, and make sure that you are also activating your cages at the most opportune moments. This setup allows you to sort of isolate certain points of A, all while allowing you the same freedoms you get of the very open nature of this site. It is very open, which is both a dagger and a help to you. It will help you get a good view on if you see any enemies come in, but will also give the enemies many angles for them to start attacking you at. So this setup here is very wonderful for that, making sure you isolate your 1v1s or your 1v2s, making sure you're able to take them at the most opportune moments that you can, and making sure you are able to hold the sites effectively. An alternate camera position, if you would maybe like to place yourself more here to get a little more of a peek on belt, going more towards nest and pipes. If you want to make sure that you have a good look on that and could potentially get a shot or two or even a kill or two off, you're going to want to throw your camera right up here. You're going to want to make sure you jump from here to here, being able to attach it all the way up there. This gives you a very wonderful look at not only belt, but also just the middle of the A push. That way you have a good look to see if they're sitting in the corner, maybe going through ropes, but most importantly, whether they're on belt, jumping off of belt, getting onto site that way. Once you have that camera positioned like that, you are going to want to make sure you put yourself in the most opportune positions for that. That is either going to be right here, making sure that you are keeping a good eye on that, or if you want to play a bit more of a smaller angle, maybe potentially putting you in an inopportune position if they start to push over there. But this will also be better for getting earlier kills. You want to put yourself right here in a bit of a crouched position, give yourself a good view of that, pop one of those off, and be able to just pop your head up slightly. And that will be that. And as a little side note, if you are the opponent pushing in here through the middle of A, let's say you're going towards the bottom, if you are pushing in towards here, your main focus is obviously going to be here and most likely here. Now granted, you might be able to very clearly see that up there with the little icon and everything, but let's just imagine that you're on the enemy team, you have no idea where the Cypher has put their traps or cameras. By the time you are somewhere around here, checking this angle or checking maybe up there, they have already spotted you along with anyone else who is pushing onto belt. From there, if you are the enemy team and you are trying to find out where that camera is, it is a bit of an opportune situation because as you can see, My map is currently blocking a good portion of the camera, so unless you are being hyper aware of it and the team is not hesitating, they will most likely shoot down the camera, but it will provide a bit of hesitation and will maybe allow you to get the upper hand. And this is what it would look like from the opponent's view if they tried to push belt. Going from the A side on Icebox, we are now going to move towards the middle, or what is most likely called kitchen area. We are going to want to make sure we set up our camera right there in the middle of the map. That way we get a wonderful view of their spawn. Now, the enemy team is going to be very aware of the fact that your camera is right here. The fact that they shoot it down will be more than enough info for you to tell, hopefully, where they'll be going or what side they'll be deciding to push. Keep in mind, they might be able to then take that information and switch it up on you, so just be aware of that depending on the ranks that you're in. But for the most part, this will be a very wonderful camera if they shoot it out, and if they don't, it'll be even better because then you'll get a good view of where exactly they're going, whether they're pushing mid or if they're pushing more towards A or B. To the tripwires on kitchen, we're going to want to place one right here in front of tube. This is a wonderful, wonderful tripwire. This one is expertly put here. That way the enemy will have to essentially give themselves a little bit of a facial hair trim with the wire while having to shoot it. You will have a very hard time shooting it from the right side, so you will most likely have to go from the left side if you are the opponent, which gives you more than enough time to peek at them or take a good look at where exactly they are. Your second tripwire is going to be a fairly simple one, placing here while they are pushing on to B. Along with that, you're going to want to put one cage right there, and that will be our entire setup here for kitchen. There will be some room for variation on this kitchen setup here. You can maybe, if you want, put a cage right around here to make sure that they have a bit of a harder time hitting those tripwires right there, breaking them, or you can maybe decide to put your camera in a bit of a more passive area, or be a little bit more aggressive with it. Maybe stand right around here when the cage goes down, or excuse me, when the wall goes down, stand right here, immediately start to push with your camera in view. There's many, many ways to go about this, but for the most part, this is the most succinct and effective way to hold kitchen, all while being aware of what is happening on B site. Now, speaking of B site, for B and our final setups here on Icebox for Cypher, we are going to start out with two separate ones. We are going to have a bit of the same on both of them. We're going to have the same camera position, same tripwire position, and same potential secondary cage position. Other than that, there will be a few slightly different things. One will be more passive, the other one will be a bit more aggressive. We're going to start out with the aggressive one. So as you can see, we're going to start making sure that our camera is positioned right about there, slightly above that little crevice, or excuse me, slightly above that little edge right here. You're going to want to make sure that it is right here. That way you get a good look onto site, see where they're planting, while also maintaining a bit of protection with this wall right here. First tripwire, you're going to want to make sure is at a good height so that they cannot jump over it or crouch under it. You're going to want to put it a bit like this right there. Second tripwire right here, we're also going to make sure it is in a decent, wonderful amount of positioning, putting it right about there, making sure they cannot crouch under it, nor can they jump over it. Then a very key part of this first aggressive setup is making sure that we have our cage set right here. This is going to be the only cage that we care about. We're going to make sure that this one is set up perfectly so that when they set it off, they will not be able to see where the tripwire is placed, and therefore they will have a harder time being able to shoot it down. Once you have it set up, you're going to want to go ahead and sit in box right here. Keep an eye on your camera, keep an eye on your audio. Make sure you can hear them. Make sure you don't let them know too soon that you are in this box. This box is completely wall bangable, so you just want to be a bit careful. It is a bit of a more aggressive positioning, but it also will reward you with a lot of very, very good kills. If you start to hear them pushing in, you can go ahead and trigger the cage. Maybe start firing a bit prematurely, but also being aware of the tripwire and where they are on this tripwire and that tripwire. And then from there, if you start to see them go more towards yellow, you start to see them go on the other side of yellow. Maybe you get a tag on them, maybe you don't. You're going to want to go ahead and potentially throw a cage right around there, making sure you're still also keeping an eye on the front of the site. And here will be a very, very wonderful, aggressive standing point where you'll be able to potentially get some good kills and overall just maintain a lot of positioning and presence on the site so that you don't give it up completely for your team to potentially retake. With the more passive positioning and passive setup here on B, as I said, we are going to want to make sure that we keep the cages, not the tripwires, the exact same. The cages are going to be the exact same, and the camera is going to be the exact same. The tripwires are going to be placed a bit more differently. Our first tripwire is going to be placed like so, catching the lip of this crate right here and giving this bit of an angular tripwire right here. Taking advantage of the geometry of this box, yet again, we are also going to shoot another tripwire into this little crevice right here. That way it gives us that angular tripwire again. As you can see, we sort of create an X-type position, keeping our cage the exact same, keeping our camera the exact same. Now you position yourself next to the snowman, take a good look at his shades, looking all fancy and nice. Good night, sir. You're going to want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your camera, keeping an eye on if they're coming behind yellow, seeing if they're pushing more towards here. Then from there, you just pop your cages, start to be aware, start to fire. If you need to throw another cage, you don't throw one like that. If you need to throw another cage, it's a simple hop and throw right there, as you can see. And it's a wonderful cage, and you have a good grasp of the site. With that, we have come to the end of this video here on Icebox. We have shown you all that we can show you today about the certain Cypher setups here. I want to thank you all very, very much for checking out the video. If you have decided to watch for this long, you have been supporting me enough already. Thank you very, very much. If you would like to do a little bit more to support, you may go ahead and like the video and go ahead and comment. Let me know what your favorite setup was. Let me know if you think that there's a better setup that I didn't show off. Let me know if you think that there is a better agent setups that I should show off. Let me know anything and everything in the comments below, and I will be sure to see you guys on the next video.